Hey there, welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 242 is titled 5 Years in the Making, Behind the Scenes. Hey Flute 360er, I have some exciting news to share. And that includes my new membership offering just for you. It's called the Flute 360 Accelerator Program, and it's an evergreen offering, which means you can join at any time. So every month, we are going to have a book club and a masterclass or a mastermind. Included is some pocket coaching with me. So if you have ever wanted to pick my brain at any given notice throughout the week, you can now do this through the Flute 360 Accelerator Program. The pocket coaching is great if you have a question about building your studio, building your career, whatever it is. You can pick my brain through this walkie-talkie Voxer app at any given moment. We are going to be hosting these masterminds or masterclasses and book clubs at the end of every month. The reason why I'm so excited about this program is because not only are you going to excel in your flute playing and within your flute career, but you are going to make meaningful and long-lasting relationships with other like-minded flutists. That's huge. Remember, your network is your net worth. It only takes one person to meet, to build a relationship with, for doors to open. So I am opening up this massive door for you right here and right now. This is something that you have been craving for quite a while, and I want to deliver the goods to you so you can thrive in your career today. All you have to do is click the link below to join the Flute 360's Accelerator Program. Enjoy the conversation with myself and my husband. Thanks! Hey Flute friend, today's show brings me much joy because I get to sit alongside my spouse, my best friend, and the sensational audio engineer of Flute 360, who is none other than the Eric Jay Begay.
Hello.
Thank you, Eric, for sitting down with me. And actually, I feel like I'm sitting down with you.
Yes. The whole idea was for me to interview you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for the listener out there, I want you to know that Eric has been lovingly bugging me and poking at me saying, hey, we need to do this. Hey, we need to highlight year 5 for over a month now.
And now that I get in front of the mic, I forgot all my questions.
Well, don't worry. I'll remind you. Now we are going over the outline and the flow of today's talk over eggs and sausage this morning with our espresso.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I will say, I'm going to embarrass him just a little bit, but before we get into his questions for me, I do want to give you, Eric, a huge thank you. Thank you for editing every and ah. Thank you for editing weird pauses and for polishing each episode on a weekly basis to such a high standard. And for the listener out there, if you ever wanted to follow Eric through Instagram, you can go, his handle, I believe, is Eric Jay Begay. and send him a message and say thank you, because he is, even though I'm the face of the podcast, what I wish the listeners knew about me in the show is how much heart and how much work you have put into the show. And you are basically like 60% of the workload. I just get to show up and start yapping.
I'm so tired.
He's saying that with a smile on his face.
I am struggling. I'm so tired.
No, we want to say thank you, because that's something that people may not realize is just the production of it and how much time goes into post-production.
No, really. I am very excited to do it. I think it's very fun for me to, and you know what? I learned so much from the people you interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. You get so inspired. And I'm not even a flutist. I'm a guitar player, and I get so inspired by the things they share and how much, and I just imagine how much young people can learn from all these ideas they're sharing. And that's just the thing that I love about the podcast business is you're sitting right in there with them and they're giving free advice, and you are walking away that much smarter, that much more knowledgeable. And who knows what you could do? I mean, it's because of podcasting. I jumped out of working for people.
Yep.
Working at a W-2 job that I was just struggling at. And then when I got into just building a business around what I do, it was like, wow, and it's because of podcasting. So I think there's something to that. And I think people should really study that. Oh,
for sure. Yeah. That's a great place to start, actually, is since we are highlighting 5 years of Flute 360, the meager beginnings of the show started in Lubbock when you started being a podcast editor for your own clients.
Yep.
And that all started at the same time, and the seeds were being planted inside of my brain and my mind while I was taking these traditional classes through the doctorate. And the whole podcasting business for Eric and Flute 360 simultaneously were built just 2 years apart from each other. So you started working for podcasters and editing their video and audio starting in 2015 when I started my studies at Tech. And in the background, you guys have heard me say this before, but in the background here, Eric is going, oh, a podcaster is launching a course. Oh, they're getting a sponsor. Oh, these podcasters are da-da-da. And you were so engulfed into their world.
Yep.
And it really did change you. I know it did, because you were always dropping these gems and these gold nuggets like, oh, John would say this and Craig would say that. And it would light you up. You would be really inspired. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I'm doing musicology classes right now.
Lo and behold.
Lo and behold, it ended up being the basis of my dissertation. And here we are 5 years later, still working together, still married, happily married. And we are looking at the next 5 years for Flute 360. I don't see this digital baby being put down anytime soon for quite some time. This is what I love to do.
Yeah. So 5 years, a lot has happened.
Yep.
How do you feel?
Over the moon. I cannot
Awesome.
believe I get to live the life that I'm living with you and with the listeners, because I'm making these connections that would have never unfolded if it wasn't for this show.
Okay.
Both clients, in the sense of like coaching clients, lessons, opportunities that have unfolded.
Yeah.
And just really it boils down to the people, like whether it is a student or whether it is a coaching client or a guest on the show,
Yeah.
or a sponsor and a company who I get to work alongside with. It blows my mind that these people keep tuning in. You, the listener, you keep tuning in every week. And it's not just hit play and you go about your day, but then you circle back and start building these like really genuine and authentic relationships with me. I feel like you guys are my best friends. And I love sitting down and talking into a microphone because I can envision the Sarah, the Jet, the Paula, the Pam, the Sue, the Sana. I could go on and on about, these beautiful relationships that have unfolded over these 5 years. And that's why I'm over the moon.
Yeah. No, and I'm very proud of you for hanging on to it like this and hanging on to this. This is a roller coaster ride for sure. Me watching it as an editor and seeing you go through all these things and all the things that we've encountered, especially just most recently, you did TMEA.
Yeah.
You started doing festivals.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy that? Because now you get to put a face to the listener.
Yep.
And all these folks approach you saying, "Hey, I've been a long time listener." You're like, "Oh my gosh, you're the person downloading these,"
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Amazing. And you're right. Going into year 5, we are mixing things up. We are doing things differently. And the one thing that Eric is highlighting is being more proactive and actually physically going out to these music festivals and showing up for us and for the show.
Yeah.
And I like it. And I want to keep doing it. So you're right. TMEA was like my first big girl exhibit experience. And I also got to exhibit, we did, also through Austin virtually, Oklahoma Flute Society, physically in Norman, and TFS, Texas Flute Society, is in May. What am I forgetting? Oh, I did a raffle thing for Louisiana Flute Festival, but I couldn't make the drive out there. But you're right, setting up the table, setting up the merch, setting up the Flute 360 banner, and then having people walk by and stop and say, "Hey, I've been a listener since day one." You can see my face right now. Like, I almost want to jump up and down and start crying at the same time, because the emotions and the reality of seeing a face being represented and knowing the name, knowing your personality, knowing your hopes and dreams and your losses, and getting to see that in a physical form where I can touch that and make that human connection is beyond me.
Yeah.
Because when you're on the back end for the first couple years and all you see through Libsyn, which is our media hosting site, you see numbers.
Yeah.
You see hundreds, thousands of downloads, and you're like, that's cool. But you know me, Eric. I'm a people person.
Who are these people?
Who are these people?
Yeah. And a lot of people, they're very active. They reach out to you on social media.
Yep.
You get to see them, you get to see their profile, but then it's different when you meet them in person, right? When you actually hear their voice and they're excited to talk with you. You get to share a free t-shirt with them like you have been doing lately. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I really enjoy seeing that on my side too, because as the editor, I get to see, the fruits of the work are actually blooming. You know what I mean? I'm over here editing audio, but then on your end over there, I'm seeing these little flowers bloom. I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
And what a season to be in 5 years, I think. It's really, really cool. So how about maybe some struggles? Maybe one or two, maybe highlight a couple of them that you've had in the past up to now. And there was plenty, but then I think maybe there are a couple that would pop out to you that you maybe somebody out there is interested in podcasting, and maybe this could help them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you're right, because it's not all butterflies and rainbows. And, what you said about the flowers popping up. Yes, the fruits to your labor, it is so rewarding. But with anything, whether you are building out a website, whether you are building out your social media page for your tribe to follow you, whether you are editing a sizzle reel for a company, no matter what creative project you're working on, there should be, and this is a good there should be peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
There should be highs and lows, because that's the messy part. That's the messy part of the creative process.
But that's where all the learning happens too.
Yes.
Just like you mentioned, all these projects that we had to get our hands with that we didn't know how to do before.
Yeah.
Mind you, we don't know everything. Yeah. We just know the basic tools of how to get some of these things started, but we don't really know what we're doing.
You learn as you go.
But Heidi is such an implementer that she just jumps right in with 2 feet, and she takes me along for the ride, and I'm doing things I've never, ever thought I would be doing.
Oh, like what?
Like editing, interviewing.
Yeah. or even sitting down and interviewing me today.
Yeah, I'm not
this
a,
is not
I'm not
in
a
your
podcaster at all. Like, I listen to plenty of podcasts, but I don't rarely ever talk. I'm such an introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be in a corner with my computer, my head down,
Mm.
you know, and not talk to anybody really. But I'm glad to do this now
Yeah.
because there's not a crowd here, of course.
Yeah.
But okay, get back to your
Yeah,
struggle.
the
What was
struggles,
your struggle?
yes.
Maybe name a couple.
So it's interesting because I know why you're asking this question, because as my husband, you have seen the podcast go on pause, and not pause in the sense of I'm shutting the doors permanently, but more or less like putting up the sign, we'll be back soon. We are on a lunch break. And those pauses happened because I needed to ground myself. I needed to reevaluate the show and the direction of the show. And those pauses are healthy. And a lot of times I would pause the show during summers when I felt like I had space to pause because, people are on vacation or they're out on school. But I would pause when I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted.
Okay.
And I think I was really pausing during my pivot.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about it, because the first couple years of Flute 360, since we're highlighting 5 years,
Yeah.
from 2018 to 2020, the first 2.5 years it was a resume builder. And I had the cap on of being a postgraduate, continuing my research. But I didn't know it at the time, and I can look back. Hindsight is beautiful, right? I can look back and be like, I was pausing during those valleys, and I was banging my head against the wall during 2020-21, that pivotal season, because I was wanting business results. And I didn't know how to articulate that.
And I want to interject here and say that's when you actually really defined the fact that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is when you drew the line in the sand and saying, I'm stepping on this side and this is what it's going to be now, right?
Because you've heard me say this before, but there are a lot of new listeners here because of those festivals. So my apologies to the avid listeners who have been with me since day one. But my aha moment was actually during a morning devotional session. And I was reading scripture about wheat and corn and making sure that the weeds aren't in your farm, things like that. And it hit me. It was like, if you plant corn, you're going to get corn results. If you plant wheat, you're going to get wheat. But if you plant corn, you are not going to get wheat. And that was my aha moment. I was like, for the first 2 years, I treated it like corn. And I got corn results. I got job interviews. I was offered positions. I was a finalist in these academic interviews. It did its job. But you were the inspiration and the reasoning why I drew the line in the sand and said, no, I want wheat results. Yeah. And I was still planting corn, but not getting my wheat. Mm-hmm. And that was my aha moment, because I was like, I have to think like a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur. If I want to see a return on my investment, or AKA an ROI, that was a lot of letters, I need to be planting wheat into my show, which means I need to let my listeners know they can work with me. They can be my student. They can come into a group setting and learn from me and others in and through a remote class. Yeah. And the content, how you approach that podcast and that platform is completely different. Because if you are a hobbyist, that's fine, but you're going to get hobby results. And so anyways, that was when I was pausing the show, was when I had to hire coaches like Garrett. I had to take away the blinders and start loosening them up to start seeing opportunities and start getting a grip and a grasp on this new direction and what that would look like. And my loving piece of encouragement to everybody is, you won't have all the answers up front. You won't. No. You learn as you go. And you have to, in order to gain that clarity on whatever you are pursuing, you have to take action. And sometimes pauses. And so anyways, full circle, a lot of the struggles, I think, producing and being 5 years into a podcast is letting go of the reins sometimes. And because this platform has organically evolved, yes, with TLC from you and me, but it also has taken a life of its own, and it's starting to grow its own legs. And you're like, whoa, kind of like a baby. We don't have kids, but I would imagine like you feed the baby, you nurse the baby, you clothe it, right? But then when it starts becoming its own entity, its own person, like a toddler, it's starting to have its own ideas. And then you help parent it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a living
and that's all
entity.
with the help of the listeners too. I mean, they kind of pop in and they ask certain things, and that's where the ideas come from. So that's the life of its own right there, is where people are attracted in certain ways, and their ideas come into our ears, and then something happens of it too. So it's like, that's where the collaboration works. It may not be full apparent that you're getting, I mean, listeners sharing ideas with you, and then something comes of it. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Like when I was at the Oklahoma Flute Society, so many listeners came to me and actually said, I need help with studio building.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're not wrong. I've had a lot of coaching clients come to me through the coaching package and build up their flute studio in New Mexico, in Greece, in Finland. And then these Oklahoma flutists come to me and say the same things that I'm hearing through my actual clients. And I'm like, oh my gosh, duh. You guys need more tips on how to build up your flute studio.
Yeah.
You know, which, by the way, hopefully will be a series or a class in the future for you guys.
Yeah.
But you're right. Their thoughts and their input influences the content, influences me in order to serve you better.
Yeah. In your network too, they kind of tap into you every now and then, asking you questions, and if they could do something in collaboration with you in order to get some content out there too. That's pretty cool.
That's what gets me out of my pauses too.
Yeah.
Like, how many summers have I said, okay, stop. I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing. And then Eric's my witness, not even 24, 48 hours later, kid you not, some big flutist or some company or somebody as normal as me will come out of the woodworks and say, wait a second, what about da-da-da-da-da? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Because there are times where you didn't have an idea for a show. You're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to wait.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden something pops up.
Yeah. Within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tell Eric all the time, how many times have I told you, like, it's this beautiful boomerang. Like, I throw it out there.
That's a good one.
And it goes, shoo, 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 and then it just hits me, knocks me in my head. Like, you can't put this down.
Yeah.
I'm your baby.
Yep. So, next question.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if I had real questions.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
What is something that you want people to know about you, or something about the show?
Oh, wow.
That they don't already know?
That's a really good question.
That's funny because you're very transparent.
Yeah.
More transparent than I would want you to be, because I mean, not because I'm an introvert and you're very open.
Yeah.
Boy, what's something that you don't, people wouldn't know about you?
I will say on a side note, y'all, like Eric, after he goes through the editing process of an episode, he'll look at me and he'll be like, are you okay with sharing that thing? That was very personal. Like, yeah, I'm an open book. And I don't think every podcaster, like if you, the listener, want to start your own show and you don't want to be that vulnerable, that's okay, to each their own. But I feel like podcasting is this intimate platform where my listeners get to be a fly on the wall and really get a good look at my life and who I am. Because I'm asking the listener to grow. I'm asking the listener to think differently and to start applying these things within their own career. So I feel like because I'm asking you to move mountains with these gems, hopefully you find them to be gems, I need to be open.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's where real learning takes place.
Yeah. No, and I see it all the time. Of course, with your help, you always tend to be more out there, more open, and I tend not to be. And I think I always see the fruits of that afterwards, after the fact. And I'm like, okay, I just need to be more like Heidi. More like Heidi.
Not more like Heidi, but I think I'm encouraging people to be more transparent.
Yeah.
Are you a flutist frustrated that your instrument doesn't accurately represent your artistic voice? We hear you. Not owning an instrument that will showcase your musical abilities and let your creative voice shine through can be frustrating. Let us help you change that. At the Carolyn Nesbaum Music Company, we have a team of flute specialists who have been working in the industry for decades, and they have the knowledge and the skill to help you find your dream instrument. They have a wide selection of piccolos, flutes, low flutes, and head joints to match your creative needs. To help you find your perfect instrument, call the Flute Shop at 972-985-2662 to schedule your flute trial today. Or visit their website at fluteforyou.com, where you can check out their instrument selection online. Follow the Flute Store through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter for the latest news and updates. The Carolyn Nesbaum Music Company is truly your one-stop flute shop. Because not to sound like a broken record, but I think that's where real learning happens. Because I've been in studios where it's been very black and white. Yeah. I'm the teacher, you're the student. Yeah. And there's no humanness. Yeah. And that's when I didn't blossom. Yeah. Since you were speaking about flowers earlier. And so I want the listener to blossom. Yeah. So I'm giving them that warm, open space of saying, hey, this is what I'm going through. Yeah. And I do want to do more solo episodes, where I do talk more about like victories and losses and really shining a light on the humanness of me and my journey so I can help you, the listener, better through your own journey. But anyways, your question is hard because I am already an open book. So I guess something that I would share would be this phrase or this idea comes through my inbox quite a bit. And it's the sentiment of, oh, I was really hesitant to reach out to you because you interview the world's best flutists of the world. And what they're saying is you are playing in the big leagues with the A-listers. I, Jane Doe or Joe Schmo, I could never approach you because you interview Mark Sparks, Carol Winsense, Marion Gadigian, Mimi Stillman. I can't touch you.
The untouchables.
You're the untouchables. And I'm like, no, it's anything but that. It's the opposite. Yeah. And maybe that's a fault of my own of like titling the episodes in a way where it says like an interview with Carol Winsense. Yeah. Because it does sound very like suit and tie. Mm-hmm. But that's not my intention. That's what I would want the listeners to know. Like the intention to that is, what can we learn from Carol Winsense's journey to help you? Because she's been in the industry for 40 plus years. So how can we help you through her story? And so because people see these big names, they feel like they can't reach out to me sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that breaks my heart because this show is for them.
Yeah, and I think that kind of changed over time and the progression of the show.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of that happened in the beginning. And I think anybody would do that when they're starting a podcast. Of course, they want to have some sort of gravity with their podcast to bring people to them. Mm-hmm. And I think those kinds of names attract people to come to them too. But then these days, you have a lot of fine folks out there, fine musicians out there, and people don't know who they are. Yeah. But they have awesome ideas.
Yeah. And that's why I want to interview also flutists and musicians and go-getters who I resonate with, who look like me, like Kelly Reardon and Dr. Catherine Eminent. These ladies are moving mountains. And I'm like, oh, wow, if they can do it, I can do it because they look like me. They sound like me. And so I'm trying to interview the whole gamut and make sure that everyone's voice to a certain degree can be heard within our flute community, because whether you are 5 years into your career or 50 years into your career, you have something to offer. And yeah, so anyways, the punchline is I wish more listeners knew that you can reach out to me if you have a topic suggestion, if you want to work with me in some way. Just because I interview a Marian Gadigian doesn't mean that I don't want to hear from you. If anything, I want to hear from you more. Because think about it, Eric, then I'm just rambling every week and hearing and just listening to my nasally Chicago accent voice go through these weekly episodes if I didn't want to hear from the listener.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if that wasn't the point, then I would just be talking just to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to do that. I want to move mountains with my people.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a radio show, like an actual like FM radio where you hear people calling in saying, "Hey, play this song for me."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh yeah, these people do exist out there."
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. And I think we did encounter that most recently with a lot of these listeners and people reaching out on social media where they start to share their ideas, and it's really enlightening to see, and it feels good too, because I always see your face light up when you say, "Oh my gosh, I got an email from this person.
Yeah.
And they said all these wonderful things about this particular episode.
Uh-huh.
They love my ideas."
Yeah.
You know?
I will print those emails out and I will like tape it and hang it in my office, because I need to be reminded that the Janes and the Joes listen to me, and who do they look like?
Yeah.
What's their personality like? You know, what resonates with them? And that's my inspiration to keep me going.
Yeah. Oh, it's a wonderful affirmation for the show. Really, it is. So what's new that you want to keep doing or that you want to start doing with the podcast? What's something that you want to put together and share with the community?
Something new. I do want to, and I've been doing this in the past, but it kind of has been a hodgepodge thing, but I want to make it more consistent. And that is of solo episodes. Because when I do solo episodes, bringing it back to your last question, that's when I find my listeners. That's when you, the listener, will 9 times out of 10 reach out to me, because now it's a one-on-one connection. Now, when I get to host and hold a space for these lovely guests, I think people see me as a person who can ask good questions.
Yeah.
As a good host.
Yeah.
But that's not when listeners reach out to me. They'll reach out to the guests, which is great. That's what I want too. But I do want to be building more deep, intimate relationships with my listeners. And that is through what I have seen in the past to be true. That is through the solo content. And like, for example, I don't know the episode number off the top of my head, but it's what do you need to unpack? And it was an episode where I talked about finally, after 7 years, unpacking this hall tree that my mom had purchased from Pier 1.
Yeah.
That one episode alone has received thousands of downloads for one episode, and it like blew my mind. I'm like, what is it with this episode?
We unpacked a tree, a hall tree. Is that what they call a hall? I always say it backwards.
He says tree hall, but it's hall tree.
We unpack it, and this store doesn't exist anymore. Isn't that ironic?
Oh, that's funny. We finally, after 7 years, finally unpacked this hall tree, and I titled the episode, "What Do You Need to Unpack?"
Yeah.
And the responses from 360ers were mind-blowing. And they were talking to me about like when they were a student and they felt X, Y, and Z through somebody's studio, and they're still unpacking performance anxiety, or they're unpacking, these negative words that were thrown at them when they were a student. And just having these real human conversations and this dialogue, I feel so blessed that you guys entrust your feelings and your thoughts with me through these very intimate emails, because then I get an inside look into how you think and feel, and that makes me a better podcaster, because then I get to deliver content that really resonates with you. And so because of that deep connection that I see from episodes like What Do You Need to Unpack and how your response unfolds through my inbox, I want more of that. So in year 5, I want to highlight more solo episodes so that way that deeper one-on-one connection can continue to grow.
That's awesome. And what a human connection you can make with these folks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just through something as simple as unpacking something, but then metaphorically, what else do you need to share? That you're not sharing, and it turns into this wonderful idea of like, okay, I guess you could say you start healing from these things because you share it, you get it out of you, and then you start sharing and become healed on it.
And that's what's, something you said earlier about like actually getting to meet the listener face to face and like getting to hug you, getting to say thank you, getting to shake your hand, having that human connection brings it to a whole nother level. And that's what I get from these solo episodes. And yeah, I love it. It's great.
Awesome. What's the next thing now? Is there anything new that you're going to be doing with the podcast, or any new offerings, any new creative things that are going to be coming out of this?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm so excited. I'm jumping up and down. I'm so giddy. It is the Flute 360 Accelerator Program. And it basically is this beautiful hodgepodge of what I'm hearing my listeners say that they need and want from the show. What I'm hearing on a day-to-day basis is that community and the sense of community and the sense of belonging to something bigger than themselves is a huge asset. And a lot of flutists that I hear throughout the world will say, there's no sort of flute community in my neck of the woods. I want to be a part of something. I want to network. And you guys know how I feel about that term network. I'm holding it very loosely. I want to network. I want to build relationships with other flutists. And that's not available to me where I currently live. And so what I want to do is 360 is all about everything is connected. We are looking at the flutist from all these different angles, the human side, and that's where we get into health topics, right? And then also the artist and also the musicpreneur or the career go-getter. And that's the essence of 360. That's the heart of 360. And because of that, I want to give you guys a program where it is a monthly subscription that you can tap into and get access to a masterclass, a mastermind. You have Voxer app access to me throughout the week and a book club. We're going to do all those things every month so that way you can accelerate, aka the accelerator program, you can accelerate as a flutist in this modern climate. And you get to network with other like-minded flutists. You get to pick my brain through Voxer. And in case anybody doesn't know, Voxer is this app, and it's really cool. It's like old school. It's walkie-talkies. And you can just like hold down your walkie-talkie and send me an audiogram and say, hey, Heidi, like I'm really stuck in, I don't know, building up my flute studio. How can I recruit more students into my studio? Yeah. And I can Voxer back in probably 30 seconds, 60 seconds and say, oh, check out those mommy groups through Facebook.
Yeah.
Moms pay for the lesson.
And to talk about your ideas with other folks, a mastermind, that is amazing. I used to do a podcast back in the day. When I first started editing podcasts, I used to do these guys, they were computer programmers. They used to get together on a weekly basis. They had all just left their coding jobs. They used to code for some companies out there.
Huge companies.
Yeah. And then they all left their jobs. And they were like, okay, we're going to be freelancers. We're going to be entrepreneurs. The whole idea. These guys went from leaving a job, making, a decent living,
nice
making
salary,
$100,000+ a year. By the time I stopped editing their podcast, they were close to being millionaires. They were close. Now they are. But each of these folks, because of their mastermind, because of coming together, because of sharing their ideas, their progress in their business. It was amazing to see how much they grew because they kept each other accountable.
Yes.
And not to say that money is the motivator in this,
Right.
but where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? This is the start.
Yeah.
And that's what a mastermind does. This is what gets me excited about when I hear mastermind. And I really, really, really love that idea. And then they always say, I mean, I read this in many, many entrepreneurial books. I couldn't even tell you which entrepreneurial book I read this in, but it was a long time ago. And these entrepreneurs always quote one another. You got to surround yourself with people that you want to be like.
Yep.
So I remember reading, this guy said, if you surround yourself with 5 idiots, you're going to be the 6th one.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, guess what? Eventually, you'll become the 6th one. Or you'll start heading in that direction. You'll start thinking like that. They'll rub off on you.
Yep.
Think about these kids. I sometimes pick up like some snacks at the gas station, or you see these kids and you see it. You see it in real life. You see it like all these high schoolers. They all walk into the convenience store. They all look the same. They all dress the same. They all have the same attitude, the same pizzazz. They all look the same. Guess what? They're all influencing one another. Guess what? As an adult, it's the exact same way. So who you hang out with, who you surround yourself with, who you mastermind with, it's going to change you.
Yeah.
And that's so inspiring. I'm glad you're doing something like that. That's, can I be in there?
Yes, you can. The door is always open for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of flutists may be hearing this and being like, man, he's getting really excited about something that I have no idea what it is. A mastermind, just in case, you may not know, it basically is like a flute masterclass, but without your flute. So, in a flute masterclass, we talk about like somebody will play in front of a group and we all get to learn on said performer's performance, right? Because then the clinician is talking about tone or technique or whatever, and then we can jot down notes. The same is true for a mastermind, but without your instrument. So it's you coming in and saying, hey, I'm having a difficult time recruiting new students for my studio. And then you also talk about your wins. You talk about like one main pain point that you are noticing in your career or your business. And you say, hey, what do you think? And then we popcorn around the room and give said person our feedback. And that's what Eric is talking about, because a mastermind, as what he had said earlier, is so powerful. You are the summation of the 5 people whom you hang out with. You are. And I've seen it in my own life. And so if you can find 5 people that are maybe around the same summit as you, like we talked about these different summits going up to Mount Everest. If you are around people who are at Summit 2 with you or Summit 3 with you, great. But then if in the mastermind there are people who are at Summit 4, 5, 6, then guess what? You're going to reach Summit 6 much quicker because their thoughts, ideas, how they think, how they perceive things starts rubbing off on you. And that's how we make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. And that's what I want to give to my 360ers. And your network is your net worth. I cannot say that enough. Your network is your net worth. And that is so true because I've done individual, as you know, I've done individual masterminds last year where they were like pop-ins, right? Like $25 for a seat. The flutists in these masterminds literally are like great friends now from those few sessions from last year. Like a flutist from Finland is now talking on a weekly, monthly basis with a flutist from Pennsylvania, New Jersey area. And that was because of a Flute 360 mastermind, and same is true with like my coaching clients. Like a flutist out in California said a lot of great things about what's going on in her life and what she wants her career to look like. Instantly, I'm like, oh, you need to talk to Rachel Geyer. Done.
Yeah.
Think about what that can do in terms of opening up doors of opportunity for your career. because people innately want to help other people. I have seen it. People have such genuine hearts where they really want to support one another through their journey. And so coming together through something like a Flute 360 accelerator program, I want to hold a space for that, for people to grow through their career, aka the mastermind, their playing, aka the master classes, and have access to pick my brain Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, through a Voxer app. Because sometimes we get so busy, right? Like sitting down for a whole hour of coaching seems like a lot. Mm-hmm. But if you just wanted to pick my brain a few seconds, a few minutes here and there throughout the week, I want my listeners to have access to me through that app.
That is amazing.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And that's something really exciting to look forward to in this new year, next 5 years. We'll see. Maybe we'll revisit and talk about what we were talking about here. And it'd be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since we're speaking of it, if you guys are interested, go ahead and I'm going to provide a link below in the show notes, and that way you can access it. But I would love to see you there. And if you have questions about it, feel free to reach out to me via email or DM me through social media like Instagram and Facebook, like you guys already do. But I just wanted to showcase that because, like you said, going back to that pivotal season in 2020, 2021, me saying, nope, I'm CEO of Flute 360. I've hired myself. This is my business. This is how I want to make a living. These different programs and offerings are going to come in and out through that evolution of the show. And it's cool to see we are at a place now where pulling together these 360ers from across the globe into one virtual room is now a reality. And that wouldn't have been a reality 5 years ago when I first started this show. Mm-hmm. So it's neat to see these changes.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So in Flute 360 fashion.
Yeah.
At the end of the show.
Are we doing picks?
Yeah.
In typical Flute 360 fashion. All right. So I've been doing a lot of talking and you have been asking a lot of questions. Let me ask you, what's your pick for today?
My pick for the day, I have no idea. Oh, okay. Recently, just the other day, I started drinking matcha tea to avoid myself from drinking coffee. Mm-hmm. First time I ever really actually got into matcha. It's really yummy. Mm-hmm. It almost tastes like you're drinking, powdered spinach.
Okay.
But I kind of got over that. You have to put the right amount in there. I guess there's a balance. Uh-huh. You just have to find the right amount of powder to put in there. And then I use the frother to blend it up.
Oh, our latte frother that we have at home?
Yeah. They say to use a whisk, but there's a special kind of whisk for that. But I don't have that. So I just use the frother. Be creative.
Oh, that's when we were at World Market and you held up like 3 or 4 different canisters of matcha tea. And you said which one?
Yep.
That's something that I want the listeners to know. On a funny note, not to throw Eric under the bus, but he can be indecisive sometimes. I'm not going to lie. He'll hold up like 3 or 4 different guitars and go, which guitar? I'm like, you love Fender Stratocasters, so let's get you another Stratocaster. But yeah, sometimes it's cute. You're indecisive because I think...
Yeah. But the secret to all that is I want all of them. And you're just supposed to say, get all of them.
Oh. Now I'm learning something new about you. I never knew before. Is that what you're really...
No,
okay.
It's a joke. Matcha tea, green matcha tea, no flavoring, nothing added. That's kind of my favorite right now.
Okay. And since we're speaking of World Market, then I think World Market is my pick because I got some really cute tea bag holders. And you're like, we don't need any more. But I wanted more because they were cats. And one cat had cute little spots on it. Another one was black with these gold glasses. And then there was like another one with like this really cute pink nose. And so I got 4 tea bag holders from World Market. And I love them. I kind of collect them.
Yeah. In case you're wondering, we have way too much tea in the house.
Yeah, if you ever want to come over for tea, I've got
two full baskets of tea under the coffee station right now.
But
all right.
yeah, well, I'm ready for,
I'm ready for
guests, morning, afternoon, or night.
Well, thank you, Heidi, for sharing your podcast journey with us. We really do appreciate it. I'm enjoying it on my side over here. I'm having a lot of fun learning and growing. And I love supporting the listeners out there with the audio part.
Yeah.
My job, my full-time job.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
it's great.
It's been a good journey. God's great. God's been doing some wonderful things in our life. And that's what I want to share too. It's been amazing. And I think we just have to keep on keeping on as best as we could.
Oh my goodness. You could not have said that any better. And God is good. And that's another thing that I wish the listeners knew. Not to drag this out any more than it needs to. But a lot of times I will get actual prayer requests from my listeners through my different DM apps. And there's nothing that brings me more joy to be a prayer warrior for my friends and say, yes, I will be in prayer with you about that thing. And talk about 360. That is a full circle, to actually then have that spiritual element embedded in our relationships too is mind-blowing. So I second that. God is great. And next week, maybe I put you in the hot seat and I pick your brain about what it's like being the Flute 360's audio engineer for 5 years. And what have you learned? How have you grown? Things like that. What do you say we do that for? Is this 242? This is episode 242. So how about we do that for 243?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm scared.
Yeah. No, and I'm very proud of you for what you've done today, for a whole month. Hey, Heidi. Hey, Heidi. Hey, Heidi. I want to sit down and pick your brain about 5 years for Flute 360. That's outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I am so proud of you.
Rubbing off on me.
Yeah.
All right. This has gone way too long trying to wrap this up.
Okay.
So I want to say bye and thank you to everybody out there. Thank you for supporting us. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Attention Flute 360 listener. Are you ready to take your flute playing and career to the next level? Have you ever desired to be a part of a flute community but didn't know where to look? Well, look no further, because the Flute 360 Accelerator Program is now open. This evergreen offering allows you to join at any time and become a part of something bigger than yourself. With access to a mastermind or masterclass, monthly book club, and pocket coaching, you'll receive the support and guidance you need to reach your goals. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to accelerate your success as a flutist. To enroll in the Flute 360 Accelerator program today, click the link below in the show notes. See you soon. Let's talk about flute.